Today I will be analyzing how point of view is used in 3 separate films to guide their viewers through a story. The use of point of view as a technique is practically written into the blueprint for the film I Am Not Your Negro, since the purpose of James Baldwin's original manuscript, Remember This House, which this documentary adapted, was to share other people's points of views. Throughout the documentary, we get to view life through the eyes of James Baldwin. We come to see the experiences that shaped his perception and understanding of the world. Although he faced much racism throughout his life, we see that those experiences did not fully determine the kind of person and perspective that he had on the world. We see this clearly when he talks about his teacher, Bill Miller, and his opinions on her.
I never really managed to hate white people. Though God knows, I have often wished to murder more than one or two. Therefore, I begin to suspect that white people did not act as they did because they were white, but for some other reason. I was a child, of course, and therefore unsophisticated.
Although we are led to believe that James Baldwin's experiences as a black man did not change what his affections were towards his white professor, the idea of perspective is once again reinforced when he tells the audience that his feelings were simply because he was an unsophisticated child. Though in this case James Baldwin's opinion came from his own judge of character, not his age, there are many other circumstances where an adult and a child's perspective can definitely change the situation. While vastly different stories are being told in both of these medias, we can actually see a similar theme of child and adult point of views in the animated film Despicable Me. The main character, Gru, actually plays the role of a villain as he works with Dr. Nefario in his plans to try to steal the moon, but along the way he temporarily ends up taking care of 3 girls. As the film progresses, we see that his desire for villainy slowly decreases as he grows and softens up towards the girls. However, Dr. Nefario knows that in order to proceed with their plan, he needs to get rid of the distractors that are stopping him from pursuing it, which are the girls, and so he returns them back to the orphanage which they came from.
Tell her you want to keep us.
All right, girls, come on, let's go.
Goodbye, Mr. Gru. Thanks for everything.
I did it for your own good. Come on, let's go get that moon.
While we as the viewer are seeing everything from Gru's perspective and know that he does not want to give away the girls are unaware of the situation and thus have very different reactions. In just one scene, we're exposed to many different points of views. We see how Dr. Nefario only cares about seeing the plan through to the end, and how, even though in the beginning of the movie, Gru may have wanted the same outcome, because he has developed throughout the film, he no longer feels the way he used to and wants to keep the girls. Even among the girls, there are different points of views. Margot, being the oldest, wants to protect her younger siblings from being hurt and puts on a strong face. Edith, as the middle child, is upset, yet refuses to say anything, and Agnes, as the youngest one, is the most vocal about being angry and confused about the situation. Unlike James Baldwin's documentary, this animated film has a much different target audience, as the other one is more geared towards adult and mature ones, while this one is more geared towards children. And so although they have similar themes, they are discussed and shown in very different ways to befit the audience that they are made for. Unlike the previous 2 films, one of my ultimate favorites, Lord of the Flies, which is an adaptation of William Golding's 1954 book by the same title, shows point of view through the eyes of a younger character. There are 2 movie adaptations of this book. The 1963 version, however, has greater fidelity towards the source material than the 1990 version. This is because, when creating the film, the script they used was the book, simply with the commentary cut out. This meant that regardless of budget or resources, like the lack of color in their film, The characters, themes, and dialogue remain incredibly faithful to its source. The book is read through the eyes of Ralph, who struggles to work with a group of boys who have all gotten stranded together on a deserted island. The following scene takes place at the very end of the book, where the boys argue so much that they set the entire island on fire. This causes an adult to see them from afar and come with a rescue team to save them. The conflict that was created amongst themselves by the group of boys makes the issues seem much larger than they really are. And so, the moment that an adult steps foot on the island, all of their conflicts seem to be much more minuscule than they were at first presented, as if the problems were never that big to begin with. And so it has a big change in perspective, and we see that now, from an adult's point of view, this just looks like a whole bunch of kids playing around, while from Ralph's eyes, this was the biggest struggle he'd ever faced. If I had to describe one of my favorite movies from the point of view of a character who isn't the main protagonist, I would say that this movie is about a mother who has to deal with her very annoyed daughter as they struggle moving from one place to another. Thank you for joining me today in this discussion about point of view in film.